Hello everyone, my name is Silver Contrail, and today we're back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. We've got Zach
Hello.
and Tom
Hi.
with us again, and we'll be talking about some of the post-Bosch release, post-YCS Sydney kind of fallout that's been going on lately. So, Tom, what's our first topic?
Well, I guess it's YCS Sydney because that's what's first on the docks. So,
I guess we're covering that first then.
Pepe dominated. That's all we have to say.
Yeah, I think it was 22%, roughly 22% that went into it day one, and then it was like 53% during day two.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going into Bosch that it was going to be the best deck, but Cosmo did sneak into top four.
Yeah, I got third place with a artifact hybrid.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
which is
Scythe,
interesting.
Scythe puts in work, man.
That's true. Scythe is really good. I don't know. It's just a pretty typical artifact Cosmo build. I mean, it wasn't too surprising. I'm surprised we didn't see more Cosmos though in the top 32 because it was just him and then some other guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
We
think it
got
was
top
more the fact
32.
though that there wasn't a lot of Cosmo players to begin with
That's true. Yeah,
because everyone was playing Pepe.
I think people are sleeping on the deck now that Pepe's out. It's still pretty good against Pepe. You can still flip skill drain on him and they can't get over it. But Adam Morris, who got third, wasn't even playing skill drain, so apparently you don't even need to do that. You just need to flip Scythe.
Plus,
So
Scythe and Ring.
Ignition is pretty decent against scales and whatnot.
yeah. Yep.
Cosmo was the second most played deck. Day one, it was 8 point. Well, hold on. Actually, no, that's not true. Magicians were the second most played deck. I'm not sure
Really?
what they're including in that. If it was
Pepe
like
Magicians.
holdouts that are magician perform mages, and then also odd eyes magicians. That might have inflated the number. It was like 70 of those, and then 67 Cosmo, and they represented 8.2% and 7.8% of the field. And then day two, it was like 40 Cosmo players and then only 18 magician players.
I also think there's a lot of Cosmo players out there that are playing the different ships and stuff that aren't very good, like Dogfighter, for example. And then the one we just got, Eclipser. I don't think either of those are very good at all, and Morris didn't play either one of those, but I keep seeing regional deck profiles with people playing like Dogfighter, and I'm sure there was people playing Eclipser now too.
I mean, I guess the only theory I could see on why you'd play Dogfighter would be to make sure you have like a floaty board, so that way Pepe can't like rip through it completely.
Well, then you just go to the Wicked Witch when they start attacking in.
Right.
Um, yeah, like people have made arguments for Dogfighter and stuff like that towards me, and I don't see the advantage to it. I like to play. Personally, I think Forerunner is really bad too. You just have to play him because we don't have enough ships. But I like Dark Destroyer and Slip Rider because you can play them like hand traps. You wait for your opponent to make plays, and then you special summon them from their hand to interrupt them. And I think that's what gives them the versatility. But the other ships, like Eclipser and Forerunner and Dogfighter, they don't have that versatility. They're just bodies on the field.
Interesting.
But
So, additionally, if you guys if ever looked at the breakdowns, you'd see something really cool that there's 149 of the players, so 17.4% of the players during day one were playing a deck that was listed as other, and they listed a good 20 plus decks before you get to that other section that was
hmm,
undefined. I've seen
Very
that at
interesting.
other events too, where they list out the breakdowns, and it's like there's some percentage, like somewhere in that 20% range, where it's like people playing something that they can't even define.
well, I mean, that can be any. I'm not sure what they had listed. But that can be a variety of things, can't it be?
It would be people probably playing less, like less than five, because they have like the last two listed are Geargia and Synchron at 5 players each, representing 0.6% of the field.
Okay.
So, and they have a lot of stuff like Cyber Dragon, Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, Noble Knight, Usenju, Six Samurai, Psyframes, Dynamist, Yangzing, Exodia, DD, Gradle, Burn, Ignite, Blackwing, Fluffle, Lightstorm, Madolche. Then it's like the top ones are Magispector, Infernoid, Despot, Burning Abyss, Mermail Atlantean, Satellar Knights, and then Heroes. Fun fact, also, they did an interview with a winner, and he said that his worst matchup was actually with Burning Abyss.
Oh yeah, because the way Bernie Best plays now is like a no fun zone. There was a regional the same weekend as YCS, and Bernie Best got top eight, and literally their trap lineup was three anti spell fragrance, three Horn of Heaven, three Magic Jammer, um, two Solemn Strike, a Solemn Warning, and Time Space Trap Hole, along with of course Traveler, the Burning Abyss, and Fire Lake. So it's like the deck is just basically hate against Pendulum decks now. Plus, you could also go back and, if you really wanted to, you could run Mass Change 2 in the deck again, just because Dark Law messes up Pendulums pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, Burning Abyss is a really versatile deck because the monsters kind of stand alone, so you can play all these traps, which is why it's stuck around for so long, and it's still kind of sticking around.
Plus that Phoenix Rhino Warrior.
And Fiendish Rhino Warrior, yay!
So if you if we were to get rid of anti-spell fragrance, do you think the deck would still top?
I
Maybe.
think it might sneak into a couple of tops. It wouldn't win an event, but you could play, like I said, you could do like Mass Change 2 and just make it more focused on anti-pendulum. But anti-spell is definitely a very huge boost to the deck because you run like at most two spells.
We can talk about that. Anti-spell, whether it should be topped or not, or banned or not.
That and Hat Beast. I
That
feel like
hat
that-
beast.
Oh gosh, this is
I say no. To both.
absolutely not. I agree with you. They should not be. Neither of them should be.
Sure, they are floodgates to the pendulum thing, but we don't have a lot of pendulum counters right now. They're really the only thing that's keeping these other decks afloat. You know, if we had like 2 years from now, if we've got like 12 different pendulum archetypes that are running around, then maybe you can make the argument that they need to be banned. But right now, really, the only pendulum deck that's running around is Performapales. And I guess we've got magicians too, but they're the only things we have to counter them. You know, eventually Konami will give us more cards that counter them directly, but right now it's just those two.
So you don't think that, and you mean that in terms of floodgates?
Yeah, floodgates. Just because we've always had floodgates in the game, and we've got floodgates that stop other decks like Imperial Iron Wall for Cosmo, or Light Imprisoning Mirror for whatever, or Shadow Imprisoning Mirror for whatever. Like, we've got all these floodgates that are still at 3. This is just the pendulum floodgate that we'll see at 3 forever.
Well, I mean, you could reliably play Mistake against any of the big pendulum things right now, and it shuts them down equally as much as like an Iron Wall against Cosmos or whatever.
See, I disagree with that. I think playing Mistake and stuff like that, if you allow them to still be able to set up their pendulum scales, that allows them to go into a rank 4 and get rid of your floodgate. And I think that's the true value of anti-spells, that keeps them from setting up their scales.
It keeps them doing anything really.
Yeah, and I think
Is the fact that it's not counterable by most spell-based removal a factor?
it can be stopped by spell-based removal. You're just gonna have to take a turn.
Either you take a turn or you have it immediately, but
Yeah.
none of the decks in the format are letting you do that.
Yeah, but I think if it becomes a problem, people are gonna start playing Typhoons and things like that to stop it.
Well, plus we're having Twin Twister now, and like that's being playing a lot of stuff just for scale removal and whatnot. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bannable. Naturia Beast I don't think is ever bannable. It's too much of a commitment to put on the field, put a monster on the field.
it could
But
easily be like cast out away or whatever. It's
yeah, and I think that's the problem with other floodgates is they're easily cast all away. Whereas, like mistake, if I flip mistake on a Performapel player, he's gonna somehow make a rank 4 and just bounce it back to my deck with Castell before I can stop and then do all his plays.
Okay, so here's the next part of the question. Do you think those cards might be a problem if the ban list comes around and it makes a pass at all the big pendulum decks right now, and it makes a big dent in them, and suddenly they're not able to do everything they can right now because Plush Fire is gone or Damage Juggler is gone, other big cards are gone, and then does Anti-Spell become too much of a win card at that point?
Um, See, then I think if you get rid of the Performapels, or not the Performapels, but the Perform Mages, then maybe you could make the argument to ban it if we don't see Pendulum scene play at all. But like even in like playing three anti spells in your main deck, I know from experience like playing against the Magician deck that if they've got one scale, the first thing they're gonna search is Dragon Pulse, or not Dragon Pulse, but Dragon Pit, and they're going to be able to pop it if they set up their scale beforehand. Like, it doesn't prevent them from having a scale on the field. Like, you have to find another way to clear the scale before you can activate your anti-spell fragrance.
Yeah, I was very much not a big fan of it going into this format because I didn't think that it was because I thought it was super luck based. Like you either opened with it and it was great, or if you drew it later, you had to rely on like clearing their field and then playing it, and that wasn't always reliable, and there was all kinds of other factors with that. So I wasn't super for it, but I obviously was still saying like, yeah, obviously if you resolve it, that you can pretty much win.
Yeah,
But
if you open it, you win against them. You can make that argument, yes. But I mean, if you're playing three of them main deck, your chances of opening them it is small. And certain decks can take advantage of it better than others, like Cosmo with Slip Rider. They can pop one of the scales and then flip it the next turn or something like that. But most decks aren't playing any back row removal, so they don't have ways to remove the scales that are already set up.
yeah, that's true. There's not a lot of it. It's all in the side deck right now,
Yep. Yeah.
or with uh, Wavering Eyes.
Yeah, or we're seeing Twin Twister now, you can make the argument a little stronger now that people are playing Twin Twister. You pop both scales, and then you can flip your anti-spell. I can see that being an argument, but how much Twin Twister is going to see play in the future, I don't know.
but at the same time though, like people are only main decking anti-spell because Form Pals is the best deck right now. Like
Yeah,
say if they like neuter it, that's gonna become a side deck card again, and then Form Pals know they can they're gonna have to side in, back row removal game two because obviously that's gonna be sided in against them.
yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
It's only gonna go back to being it's right now it's being main deck because you're trying to slow them down so you can play at their level. They can play at your level, but the minute it gets slowed down, you don't need a main deck anymore. So it's not really an issue, I feel.
I think that's a good point. So we're all against banning it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can move on. Anything else from Sydney, or do we want to go straight to Shining Victories?
Shining Victory sounds good.
Okay.
Why is this set so broken? Dear gosh, why?
Yeah, there's a lot of stupid cards in this set.
We talked about it a bit last time, but there's been some new leaks since then, and oh sweet lord, what are they doing? There's that new hand trap. What's it called, Tom? I forget.
Fuyu Sakura, or Drifting Spirit of Winter Blossoms. So basically, it's a new Ghost Ogre, and during either player's turn, if your opponent has more monsters than You discard it and then reveal one card from your extra deck, and then you check your opponent's extra deck and banish all cards with the same name in their extra deck.
This
So
card makes every mirror match. Oh lord, it's literally who draws this card first in the mirror match. What it comes down to.
see, I don't even think its true value is playing it in decks that don't use their extra deck, like Cosmos or what's another example? Spellbooks. Something that just has a bunch of extra deck space. You put those in there, and then you can remove problem cards. You know, like if I'm playing against a Cosmo player, and I've got my own Fuyu, I can reveal like Chimera Tech, and then all their Cyber Dragons are useless. You know, or if I'm playing Pendulums, I can remove Draco Ascension, and then all that's their out to it. So, I think that's where its value is.
Yeah, when this card was first released or first revealed, it was like, oh wow, this is gonna make the mirror matches just completely awful because people are playing the same cards in the extra deck. And then it took me a little while, and then I came back and I was mentioning in the chat, and I was like, wait, you can just play this in whatever and just
Yeah,
put whatever in your extra deck that you want. Like even decks that do use their extra deck to a certain extent, this card's so powerful, they're just gonna stick cards in there and then just flip this card and say, nope, you can't use your extra deck monsters because I'm gonna kill them all. So every deck in the game that relies on 2 or 3 extra deck monsters, particularly stuff like Burning Abyss, they're suddenly I mean, what are they gonna do? They don't even have ways to counter this card reliably, and they're
yeah.
just gonna lose their best cards, the cards they need to play.
No more Dantes, no more Tiramisu's from a Dolce. Uh, it kills so many decks just because you can banish their key monsters.
No more Vatriana for Dragonity.
No more Vadriana for
Oh my
Dragoonity.
god.
I don't think anybody's gonna play Vadriana, Kelly. I'm sorry.
And plus, to get more added value to this card, you could actually have extra deck cards in your side deck based on whatever matchups you feel you might, play it whichever, event you're going to, and just be like, okay, game 2. Well, I know he's playing against, side in those extra deck cards, and then be ready to go.
You can banish Darklaw. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really. It's such a powerful card, and again, I think the big thing with it is that there's not really a lot that you can use to counter it.
Just Mind Drain and Divine Wrath.
Sound Strike.
And sounds as yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, Sound Strike. Yeah, that's right. It is a monster.
Too bad I don't have $210 for a playset.
You just gotta pull one. Keep mine
Yeah.
packs.
Okay.
Dude, I did it. You can do it too.
Yeah, no, my luck with packs is always awful.
Alright,
Oh.
so what else are we getting in this set?
Get Rector, the Pendulum Drake Overlord. Yeah, we're getting Rector Pendulum, the Drake Overlord. This card is also really, really good. Obviously, part of the Draco Slayer, Drake Overlord archetype. It's a pendulum effect, just as negate the effects of all face-up pendulum monsters your opponent controls, which is ridiculous. And then it's also a semi-catastor when it battles a monster at the start damage step if it's a pendulum monster, destroying both. He also has some new lovely support cards to go with him, though, that are pretty insane, if you ask me. If I can find them here. First off, we have the lovely Ritual Monster, which is a level 8. And in theory, the last boss monster for the Draco archetype, because we've now had a Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, and now Ritual. His effect reads as follows. You can summon this card with Morpho's Persona, which is not a ritual spell. It's actually a field spell, so no pre-preparations or rights, sadly. After this card's ritual summon, skip your opponent's next main phase 1. So if you actually get it out properly, it's ridiculous because, oh, sorry. Draw, standby. Oh, look, battle phase. You have nothing? Cool. Then its second part of the effect is negate the effects of face-up Fusion, Synchro, and Exceed monsters on the field. And then, if this card's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Drake Overlord monster from your deck to your hand, except for a copy of himself. So that's the ritual guy, and to go along with that, there's one more card. If I can find it here. forgetting the name of it. Where'd you go? I will find you.
It's the
True
field
Draco
spell.
Awakening. And it's
Oh,
just a
right.
normal spell card and says if there's a Drake Overlord monster and a non-pendulum Draco Slayer monster in the field, shuffle as many cards in the field as possible into the deck. They can special summon one Draco Slayer or Drake Overlord monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions.
Yay, more Draco cards.
Yeah.
Like
So
they
it's,
weren't broken already.
oh gosh, that the day that archetype gets a hit is the day a lot of pendulum players cry. Because pretty much all their support is like generic and splashable in basically any pendulum strategy at the moment, aside from say like DDs or something like that. But True Drake Awakening on paper sounds ridiculous because you're spinning everything on the field back to the deck, and then you get to summon. Ideally, you'd summon the ritual guy, but that means you have to run a ritual without the spell. So, and Kelly, you said it does not work out the way it would, in theory, work. Correct?
Yeah, it's weird because you have to field both the monsters and then have this spell. And there's so many times where you can't field the monsters and you're just sitting on the spell, or you draw into the ritual monster and you're sitting on that while you're trying to get the setup going, and it's better off if you don't try it, in my experience, um, and just leave the ritual. I think for using with the ritual spell or the well, it's a field spell, I guess. That ritual summons it.
Right.
I'll be back in
Because
one
if
second.
We also get some more Amorphage stuff.
yeah, they're like just a bunch of floodgate pendulums.
They get a field spell, which is kind of cool. I haven't played with the archetype at all, so I don't know how it works. Just say,
Basically, the whole shtick is your pendulum scales have like floodgate effects. I think one of them's like an Imperial Order, and the other is like a Royal Decree. But the kicker is every standby phase, you have to either tribute a monster or pop the scale.
okay,
So the whole point is to be like set up your scales, pendulum summons stuff, and the monsters all have the pendulum effect where I believe monsters can't be special summoned except for amorphages. Let me double check to clarify. Because there's like a lot of amorphages here. We're getting like 8 of them or something like that. Plus the field spell and all that.
yeah. Neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck except Amorphage.
So yeah, the whole plan is to have scales with floodgates, summon your monsters. Your opponent can't play. Goes back to your turn. You have tribute fodder for your scales.
So basically, the field spell, its second effect, as long as it remains face up on the field, each time an Morphage monsters you control are tributed, you draw a card. And you
Yes,
can
and
apply
then
that up to twice per turn. So
if I'm not mistaken, they also have a continuous spell card as well that lets them search. I could be wrong. Could be thinking of a different archetype.
No, it's this one.
Is this one okay?
I watched Lithium's video earlier today.
Yeah, the Amorphage infection. So I mean, on paper it seems like a really, really cool archetype, like really good, but you get your scales broken or your monsters get removed from the field, you go minus very, very fast.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy with it. He was in a lot of his videos. He would lose one end of the scale and it was over.
that's interesting.
It's a very unique archetype because it's a floodgate archetype. It's a bunch of monsters that are floodgates.
So it's literally cancer.
But it's cancer that can be beaten with cardboard.
It's true. We have a couple other random cards. Regretful cards, which is kind of a funny card. Makes the hand size limit of each player 3, so it's ultimately the best card to play against Exodia. They will never be able to play Exodia. Although that's not necessarily true, because wouldn't it apply at the end phase? I'm not sure how hand size.
It would apply at the end phase, yeah.
Yeah. So they could draw a 5 and you'd still lose.
They could.
Otherwise, Anything else from Shiv that you guys want to talk about?
Wasn't there's something about like a loop with the card Daunting Stance and Omega. Kelly, do you hear anything about that?
No, what's daunting stance?
Target one face-up monster in the field. Its defense becomes double its current defense, but its defense becomes zero at the end of this turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster you control. This turn, your opponent can only attack that target. You can only create one Daunting Stance per turn.
Uh, I guess you target something with its banish effect, and then you return it to the graveyard with Omega's effect. Is that
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what I'm
then you
getting.
chain Omega's effect, and that way, like, Omega was the target, so now they can't attack it, so they can't attack anything.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I don't know if that's the way
That's
it'd be ruled, but that's the way people are saying it right now.
hmm.
Seems pretty neat.
Yeah, there's no rulings on it. When this card come out? Oh, it's not. It's
Nah, it's from Shining Victories.
cool.
A lot of stuff to look forward to in the next set, that's for sure.
If
And be
you're
terrified
a
of.
pendulum player.
Yep.
Hey, there's digital bugs, man.
I'm pretty hyped for digital eggs, man. You don't even know.
I think this core set is better than like the 80 cards in it. Besides the imports and the war premieres, is better than Bosch so
You
far.
think so?
Yeah, because I don't.
Bosch had a lot of like staple E cards in it.
It had well, it has two, really,
If you're
right?
looking
I
at-
mean, Twin
If
Twisters
you're
and
looking at
Strike.
if you're looking at the set itself, yeah.
Infinity, you could argue.
Well, no, I'm talking about without the imports and war premieres.
Okay, yeah, then it's got two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
Yeah,
that
you
this
could-
set's stronger.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
It's interesting, like how much more added value is put in our sets based on the imports and world premieres versus just a standard 80 card base.
Yeah, I don't think this set would have sold at all if they didn't have the added stuff.
Oh gosh, no way, no way.
They knew what they were doing.
I mean, it would have sold slightly for Solemn Strike, but that would have been about it.
That's true.
All right, we are at 27 minutes.
So, do we want to do the question? Or
We can answer the question, I guess.
okay.
Answer the question.
So we got a question last time from Spokesman Jeff, who is apparently also trying to make a podcast. But he asked, what were your first thoughts on Pendulums back in Duelist Alliance, and what are your thoughts now?
I can sum my thoughts up. I hated them when they first came out, and I still hate them to this day. They're definitely more cohesive than when they first came out. I can see what Konami was thinking when they made them. When it was just Clyports, I hated everything about them because they were really stupid. But now that we have cards that like destroy pendulums and add new ones, I can see where they're going with the whole mechanic from the start. But I still dislike the mechanic. I'm old though. I remember when unions were released.
You can combine two monster cards without using polymerization.
Yeah, but they weren't any good.
None of
Like
them
think
were.
of a good union. It's like
Machina Gearframe?
that's it.
Wait, they're not even a union. It's just like
Yeah,
a
he
clips.
is.
Yeah,
Is he
he's
really
still
a union?
He's a
Oh,
union.
never mind.
Your frame's a union. He's the only good union. And then it's like they make the what's it called? Dragoonides, and they're not even unions. They like work like unions.
Even before that, Cyber Darks.
Yes.
Cyberpunk's are awful though.
So it's like, what are they thinking? Why did we make unions and then just abandon it?
They'll come back to it. You wait and see. They've come back to fusions and rituals hardcore. We're gonna get a
And
union
tunes.
archetype. And tunes, cannot forget the tunes.
They keep coming back to Geminis randomly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another terrible thing they decided to make.
Okay, summon, and then Gemini summon. Bottomless trap hole on the Gemini summon. Oh.
Although Gigavise was a cool deck.
Oh, the good old days. Zach, do you have an answer?
When it first came out in Duelist Alliance, it didn't really do anything, so I wasn't that worried about it. Like initially, when the mechanic was first like announced, I thought it was gonna be the super horrible broken thing, and now I can say that I was right in thinking that. But back when Dual Science was released, I wasn't that concerned about it just because there was no cohesive strategy there. It wasn't until New Challengers we got Cleaforts, which even then they were still. I mean, they're not. I won't say balanced per se, but you could still, stop them if you stop their scout search or whatever. Now, I don't even know. I think they're at such a power creep point. It's making it really hard for other decks to keep up, just because they're so aggressive, and you break their board and you don't OTK them, they're just going to regain that board next turn. So
Yeah, that's really stupid. Honestly, that's like the dumbest part of the mechanic.
and what gets me is before in Dual Science and whatnot, you had to put resources in to get those scales. So when you pendulum summon all that, you weren't plussing off or anything like that. Now there's like no investment in your scales because everything searches everything else.
Because you have monkey board
And Wizard, which
and
after
wizard.
because Monkey Board searches Crobat and Crobat searches Wizard, and then you're like, hey, look, 3 pluses. So yeah, before I thought they were broken, then not really. Now they're definitely, I wouldn't say beyond broken, but they're definitely power creeping above most other decks in the meta right now.
Well, I'll give my answer to this one because I had thought about this recently, and actually before I saw this question, and if you look at the mechanic when it first came out, obviously it was awful. Everybody knew it was awful, and nobody was going to play it. And in fact, when we went to Detroit for the whatever that was, the Nationals, they had the structure decks there, the
Oh yeah, I
pendulum starter
remember
decks,
that.
and the strategy was like take out the pendulums because they're bad, and you're never going to pendulum summon, and there's no reason to. And that was like the strategy going forward for a while until basically Clyforts came out, because there was no reason to play anything else. And then even after Clyforts, I mean, kind of Zephyr a little bit, but there was nothing until just last maybe October, November, and really mostly in November, where pendulums became good. And it's because, in true Konami style, they broke the mechanic. They took the card investment out of it. They took the going zero, and turn it into going +1, +2, whatever. And
Yeah,
then now it's
card
the
economy
case.
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and it really hasn't since Dragon Rulers. And Dragon Rulers were that first deck that said, look, card economy doesn't matter because all of your cards are free. All of your cards come back if they're destroyed. Making exchanges based on card advantage, it will not win you the duel. And that's when everything became, okay, well, we're going to have to run Floodgates all the time in everything because otherwise you can't win. And so then then obviously that big September ban list that came out that changed the whole game. And now that's the case too. And I was thinking about this before, like with the current pendulum strategies, with older pendulum strategies, and besides Clyfort, if you left them with one card, they usually couldn't do anything. If you left them with 2 cards, they probably couldn't do anything because their scales probably wouldn't match, even if they had 2 scales. Now it's like, even if you leave them with 1 card, they might be able to beat you, depending on what that card is. And because once that scale comes back, not only are they getting all of their cards back, but then they're accessing their deck and their extra deck, and they're going everywhere, and it's just obscene. It reminds me of like Insectors, when you top deck, you have nothing, and you top deck Dragonfly, and then you just win.
Yeah. Well, that happened to everything, though. If you remember when Xyz first came out, they were pretty bad, too.
Yeah, it's the true Konami style of breaking mechanics, of taking the cost and investment out of every single mechanic in the game, because power creep. I like Duos Alliance came around and they said, you know what, fusions aren't very good. Let's make fusions really good by fusion summoning from the deck, and let's make rituals really good by recycling the ritual spells and searching everything and
And giving
using
you free tribute that could search other things when it's tributed.
or using materials out of the extra deck, like
Yeah.
just insane stuff.
And then what sucks is like every time they do like massive power creeps like this, they have to make drastic changes on the ban list just to make sure the game doesn't go completely out of control.
Or keep power creeping, which they've been doing recently. If you look
Yeah.
over the past like year, how much we power creeped, it's ridiculous. Like I think if Necros were still at full power, people wouldn't be playing them right now. I think they'd be losing.
Is this with
To-
or without Dijin lock? That's the question.
Okay, without Dijin Lock,
Okay.
because that needed to be banned regardless.
Yeah.
With just Dijin Lock banned, 3 Brios and stuff. I don't think that deck would even be.
Yeah, without the Dijin lock, I don't think Knuckles could be as fast paced as Pepe or keep up with Cosmo or whatnot because what do they have? Trish? At this point, like in card economy wise, like those decks plus so much harder that having one card removed from each spot's not that big of a deal.
Hmm.
That's a scary thought.
Although Trish is still good, don't.
Oh yeah, Trish is still a great card. It's not like because before like in the Necros format you had to like play around Trish, like make sure you didn't have a hand or something on field or whatever. And if you got Trished once, you could potentially like lose the game right then and there. But now it's like if you get Trished, you could still potentially make a comeback.
Yeah.
Especially like with Perform Mages and Perform Pals. Like they have so many cards on the field. Like, okay, you banished one of them, and you maybe a card in their hand. I don't know what they would have in their graveyard that's relevant. Maybe a damage juggler, and then they're just like next turn, pendulum summon everything back and go off. I think
I also think it's stupid that synchro material will go to the extra deck.
yeah,
Yeah.
Xyz go to the graveyard, and
Which
synchros
makes
go to the
sense, because
extra
that's
deck.
how they ruled Xyz with like Sangan, back when Sangan was a thing.
Mhm.
But like, why do synchros go to the extra deck? Like, I think it should be like, I don't know, it'd be hard for them to like rule it that way, but like if they were tributed, they shouldn't go, and if they're, that's my personal opinion, tributed or synchro material or even fusion material, they should go to the graveyard.
Hey,
But-
you're getting loud. I think.
Me?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
it's like there's a fan right next to you or something.
Yeah, there's a vent right by me.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Well, I think, yeah, we're about 37 minutes in, so that's probably a good place to wrap it up. If you guys have
Okay.
anything more to add, I don't know.
Nope.
Not particularly.
All right, so if you've made it this far, go ahead and leave us not a like. Don't like this video. Leave us a question, and we'll try to answer it on the next podcast.
You probably shouldn't tell them not to like it. You guys can like it if you want. You can't think of a question or are lazy.
No, don't like, don't subscribe, don't rate 5 stars.
Don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's be real.
Yeah, don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a bad game.
Go
Yep.
play Magic or Vanguard.
Well, hold on. Let's
Why not
not
force of will?
let's not go too extreme here.
Go play poker. There we go.
Yeah, you can actually get money there and the respect of your family. So that's about it for us. And yeah, that's about it. So we'll see you guys next time then.